There's a room in the Cleveland Police Department's Cold Case Division. 3rd floor. End of the hallway. Most officers walk past it without a second glance. Inside, behind bulletproof glass and temperature controls, sits evidence from cases that time tried to forget. Box after box. File after file. Stories that ended before they should have. In the far corner, under fluorescent lights that never turn off, there's a shelf marked Richardson, M. 1981. On that shelf sits a purple diary. The kind you could buy at any drugstore in the early 80s. The kind with a tiny brass lock that any kid could pick with a paperclip. The pages are yellowed now. 25 years will do that. The corners are dog-eared from being opened and closed by hands that will never hold it again. Inside the front cover, written in the careful cursive they used to teach in schools, are 9 words: "This diary belongs to Maya Richardson. If found, please return. Do not read." No one returned it. And everyone read it. Because Maya Richardson never came home to claim it. She never grew up to laugh about the silly things she wrote when she was 14. She never got the chance to be embarrassed by her teenage thoughts or to show it to her own children someday. On June 5, 1981, Maya walked through the doors of Fairview Middle School in suburban Cleveland, Ohio. She was 14 years old. She was wearing her favorite denim jacket, the one with the embroidered sunflower on the back pocket that her grandmother had sewn on for her 13th birthday. Her backpack was heavy with textbooks and that purple diary. She had French toast for breakfast. She kissed her mother goodbye. By 6 p.m. that evening, she had vanished. No witnesses. No screams. No struggle in the parking lot. No ransom note. No body. Just gone. Her mother, Diane Richardson, called the police. They told her to wait. They told her teenagers run away. They told her Maya would come home when she was ready. But Diane knew her daughter. Maya didn't run away. Maya was responsible. Maya was punctual. Maya never missed dinner. And Maya was supposed to meet her best friend Jennifer after school that day. She never showed up. For 25 years, Diane searched. She knocked on doors. She handed out flyers. She stood outside Fairview Middle School every June 5 with a candle and a photograph, alone, while the world moved on and forgot about the girl who disappeared. For 25 years, the school stayed silent. The principal retired with honors. The case went cold. The file gathered dust. And the truth was sealed behind a wall that was never meant to be opened. Until March 2006, when a construction crew tearing down that old school found something in a locker that had been welded shut for a quarter of a century. A denim jacket with an embroidered sunflower. And underneath it, a purple diary with 9 words written inside the cover. This is the story of Maya Richardson. This is the story of what happened when someone finally listened. This is the story of a mother who never gave up, a system that failed, and a truth that refused to stay buried. Before we continue with this case, if you're interested in more stories like this, stories that demand to be told, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We cover cases that the system tried to forget, voices that deserve to be heard, and truths that need to come to light. Your support helps us keep telling these stories. Now, let's uncover what really happened to Maya Richardson. The morning of June 5, 1981, started like any other Friday in suburban Cleveland. The sun was bright. The air smelled like cut grass and the promise of summer vacation just 3 weeks away. Maya Richardson stood in front of her bedroom mirror, carefully braiding her long dark hair into 2 neat plaits. She wore her favorite denim jacket over a white t-shirt and jeans. On her feet, red Converse sneakers, slightly scuffed from wear. She'd saved her allowance for 3 months to buy them. Downstairs, her mother Diane was making breakfast. French toast, Maya's favorite. The radio played softly in the background. Some song about endless love. Diane hummed along while she cooked, occasionally glancing at the clock. The school bus came at 7:45. Maya was usually early, but this morning she was running late. Maya. You're going to miss the bus. Maya grabbed her backpack from the corner of her room. It was heavy, stuffed with textbooks she needed for final exams, a pencil case, a half-eaten bag of M&Ms, and her diary. The purple one. She'd started writing in it back in January, filling its pages with thoughts about school, her friends, her dreams of becoming a writer someday, and lately, things she couldn't tell anyone else. Things that scared her. She rushed down the stairs, nearly tripping on the bottom step. Diane handed her a piece of French toast wrapped in a napkin. Maya kissed her mother on the cheek, tasting the lingering sweetness of syrup. "Love you, Mom. See you after school." Those were the last words Diane Richardson would ever hear her daughter say. Maya caught the bus with 30 seconds to spare. She sat in her usual seat, third row from the back, next to the window. Her best friend Jennifer slid in beside her. They talked about nothing important. The upcoming dance. A boy Jennifer liked. Plans to meet at their usual spot after school and walk to the record store downtown. Maya wanted to buy the new Blondie album with her birthday money. "Meet me by the flagpole at 3, Maya said. "Don't be late this time." Jennifer laughed. "I'm never late. You're the one who's always getting held up." The bus pulled up to Fairview Middle School at 8:05. Maya and Jennifer walked in together, splitting up at the main hallway. Jennifer's locker was on the first floor. Maya's was on the second. They'd see each other at lunch. Maya's morning was unremarkable. English class first period. They were reading To Kill a Mockingbird. Maya loved that book. She'd already finished it on her own and was reading ahead. Math class second period. A quiz on quadratic equations that Maya was certain she'd aced. Science third period. They were dissecting frogs. Maya hated it but forced herself to participate because she wanted to be a doctor someday. Maybe a writer. She hadn't decided yet. She was only 14. She thought she had time to figure it out. Fourth period was gym class. Maya changed into her gym clothes in the locker room, laughing with the other girls about their terrible dodgeball skills. She was good at dodgeball. Quick reflexes. She managed to be the last one standing on her team. The gym teacher, Miss Palmer, praised her. "Good job, Maya. You should try out for basketball next year." Lunch was fifth period. Maya sat with Jennifer and 3 other girls at their usual table in the corner of the cafeteria. They shared fries and complained about homework. Maya pulled out her diary and showed Jennifer a funny drawing she'd made of their history teacher, Mr. Patterson, who had a habit of falling asleep during videos. Jennifer nearly spit out her milk laughing. "You're going to get in trouble if anyone sees that," Jennifer warned. Maya just grinned and tucked the diary back into her backpack. Sixth period was history. Mr. Patterson did, in fact, fall asleep during a video about the Civil War. The class passed notes and whispered while he snored softly at his desk. Maya received a note from a boy named David Chen. It said, "Meet me after school, M." Maya frowned. She barely knew David. She crumpled the note and shoved it in her pocket. She had plans with Jennifer. She wasn't interested in meeting anyone else. Seventh period was her last class of the day. English again, this time focused on writing. Mrs. Henderson, the teacher, was Maya's favorite. She encouraged Maya's writing, always leaving thoughtful comments on her essays. Today, Mrs. Henderson was explaining how to structure a persuasive argument. Maya took careful notes. She wanted to write something important someday. Something that mattered. Something that would make people listen. At 2:32, everything changed. The classroom door opened. A student aide walked in, a girl from the 8th grade Maya didn't know well. She handed Mrs. Henderson a pink slip of paper. Mrs. Henderson read it, then looked up at the class. Maya Richardson, you need to report to Principal Watkins' office immediately. Take your things. Maya felt her stomach drop. She looked around at her classmates, confused. She hadn't done anything wrong. Why was she being called to the office? She gathered her books, her backpack, her jacket. Her hands were shaking slightly. She caught Jennifer's eye across the room. Jennifer looked worried. Maya shrugged, trying to seem unconcerned, but inside she was nervous. She walked out of that classroom at 2:32. The hallway was empty. Most students were still in class. The final bell wouldn't ring for another 13 minutes. Maya walked slowly toward the main office, her sneakers squeaking on the polished linoleum floor. She passed the trophy case. The water fountain. The bulletin board covered in announcements about the upcoming dance and summer reading lists. She reached the main office at 2:35. The secretary, Mrs. Callahan, looked up from her typewriter. Maya Richardson? Yes, ma'am. I was called down. Mrs. Callahan checked her desk, flipping through papers. She frowned. I don't have you on my list. Let me check with Principal Watkins. She picked up the phone, dialed an extension. Sir, Maya Richardson is here. She said she was called down. A pause. Yes, sir. I'll send her in. Mrs. Callahan hung up and gestured toward the principal's door. Go on in, honey. Maya knocked. A deep voice said, Come in. Principal Thomas Watkins was a tall man in his late 50s, with graying hair and a stern face that rarely smiled. He'd been the principal at Fairview for 15 years. Everyone respected him. Some feared him. He ran the school with strict rules and little tolerance for misbehavior. But Maya had never been in trouble. She'd never even been sent to the office before. Sit down, Maya, Principal Watkins said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. Maya sat, clutching her backpack on her lap. Did I do something wrong, sir? We need to have a conversation, he said. His voice was calm, controlled. About a letter that was sent to the school board. Do you know anything about that? Maya's heart began to race. The letter. She'd mailed it 3 days ago. A letter detailing months of uncomfortable encounters. The way Principal Watkins had asked her to stay after school multiple times to discuss her grades, even though she was getting straight A's. The way he'd put his hand on her shoulder, her back, her arm. The way he'd called her special and mature for her age. The way he'd made her feel small and scared and like she couldn't tell anyone because who would believe a 14-year-old girl over a respected principal? She'd written that letter in her diary first, working through what she wanted to say. Then she'd copied it onto clean paper, addressed it to the school board president, and mailed it from the post office on her way home from school. She'd been terrified. But she'd also been brave. Because she knew she wasn't the only girl this was happening to. She'd heard whispers. Seen other girls called to the office. Watched them come back quiet and shaken. Someone had to stop him. That's what she'd written in her diary. Someone has to stop him. I don't know what you're talking about, Maya said quietly, but her voice betrayed her. It shook. Principal Watkins leaned back in his chair, studying her. I think you do. And I think we need to have a more private conversation about this. Come with me. I need to get to class. The bell is about to ring. This is more important than class. Come with me, Maya. Now. Maya stood on shaking legs. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But he was the principal. He was an adult. He had authority. And she was just a girl. A 14-year-old girl who'd been taught to respect her elders, to listen to teachers, to follow the rules. Principal Watkins walked out of his office. Maya followed. They didn't go back toward the classrooms. They went the opposite direction, toward the back staircase that led down to the basement. The staircase hardly anyone used. The one that always smelled like mildew and old cleaning supplies. At 2:45, the final bell rang. Students poured out of classrooms, laughing and shouting, eager to start their weekend. Jennifer went to the flagpole and waited. 3 o'clock came. 3:15. 3:30. Maya never showed up. Jennifer walked to Maya's house. Maybe she'd gone home sick. Maybe she'd forgotten. When Jennifer knocked on the door, Diane Richardson answered, still in her work clothes. She was a nurse at the county hospital. She'd just gotten home. "Is Maya here?" Jennifer asked. "We were supposed to meet after school." Diane frowned. "No, she's not home yet. I thought she was with you. She never showed up at the flagpole. I waited for almost an hour." A cold feeling settled in Diane's chest. She checked Maya's room. Empty. She called the school. No answer. It was after hours. She called Jennifer's house, thinking maybe she'd misunderstood. She called 2 other friends. No one had seen Maya after 7th period. By 4:30, Diane was worried. By 5:30, she was scared. By 6 o'clock, she was on the phone with the police. The operator sounded bored. "Cleveland Police Department, what's your emergency?" "My daughter is missing. She didn't come home from school." "How old is your daughter, ma'am?" 14. "Her name is Maya Richardson. She's never late. She always comes home right after school. Something is wrong." "Ma'am, teenagers run away all the time. She probably went to a friend's house and forgot to call. She didn't run away. She was called to the principal's office during last period and she never came home. Someone needs to go to that school right now." "The school is closed, ma'am. I can send an officer to take a report." "I don't want a report. I want someone to find my daughter." "We'll send someone over." Officer Brooks arrived at 7:15. He was young, white, and looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He took down Maya's description with minimal interest. 5'3". 105 pounds. Dark brown hair, usually in braids. Brown eyes. Last seen wearing a denim jacket with an embroidered sunflower, white t-shirt, jeans, red Converse sneakers. He asked if Maya had a boyfriend. If she'd been acting strange lately. If she'd seemed depressed. Diane answered no to everything. Maya was a good kid. A responsible kid. She didn't sneak out. She didn't lie. She didn't run away. "Sometimes girls get embarrassed about getting in trouble at school," Officer Brooks said. "They cool off and come home. Give it until morning. She'll probably show up." But morning came and Maya's bed was still empty. Saturday dragged into Sunday. Sunday into Monday. And still no Maya. On Monday morning, Diane Richardson went to Fairview Middle School. She demanded to see Principal Watkins. The secretary tried to put her off, but Diane wouldn't leave. She stood in that office and refused to move until someone gave her answers. Principal Watkins finally emerged from his office, looking annoyed. "Mrs. Richardson, I understand you're upset, but disrupting the school won't help find your daughter. The office called my daughter down on Friday. You must have a record of it. I need to see that record. I've checked our logs. There's no record of Maya being called to my office that day. The teacher heard it. The whole class saw her leave. Are you telling me they're all lying? I'm telling you there's no record. Now, I have a school to run. If Maya comes home, please let us know. Diane left the office shaking with rage. Something was wrong. Very wrong. But she had no power here. She was a single black mother in a predominantly white suburb. She worked as a nurse. She didn't have money for lawyers. She didn't have connections. And the systems that were supposed to protect her daughter were closing ranks against her. She went to the police station. She demanded to speak to someone in charge. Detective Robert Hayes was assigned to her case. He was a veteran officer, 3 years from retirement, and he treated Maya's disappearance with all the urgency of lost property. He interviewed 2 of Maya's friends for 15 minutes each. He didn't visit the school. He didn't request office logs. He didn't interview Mrs. Henderson, the teacher who'd seen Maya leave class. After 3 days of minimal effort, he filed a report classifying Maya as a probable runaway. But she didn't run away, Diane insisted. She was called to the office. She never came home. Something happened at that school. Mrs. Richardson, I understand you're upset, but there's no evidence of foul play. Your daughter is 14. Teenagers run away. They rebel. They make poor choices. The best thing you can do is wait for her to come home on her own. What if she can't come home? What if something happened to her? If we find evidence of a crime, we'll investigate. Until then, there's nothing more we can do. Diane walked out of that police station knowing she was on her own. The police weren't going to help. The school wasn't going to help. If she wanted to find her daughter, she'd have to do it herself. She made hundreds of flyers. Maya's school photo, enlarged and photocopied. Missing, Maya Richardson, 14 years old. She posted them on telephone poles, in grocery store windows, at gas stations, at churches. She knocked on every door in a 5-mile radius. Did you see her? Did you hear anything? Have you seen a girl matching this description? Most people said no. Some looked at her with pity. A few whispered behind her back that Maya must have been troubled, must have run off with a boy, must have done something to deserve disappearing. The black community rallied around Diane. They organized search parties. They distributed flyers. They held prayer vigils. But the wider community looked away. The local news showed mild interest for one day, then moved on to other stories. No one seemed to care that a 14-year-old girl had vanished without a trace. Weeks turned into months. Summer came. Maya's 15th birthday passed. Her empty chair at the dinner table became a permanent fixture. Diane kept Maya's room exactly as she'd left it. The bed unmade. Homework on the desk. Posters on the walls. She refused to believe Maya was gone forever. She refused to give up. Every Friday, Diane stood outside Fairview Middle School with a sign that read, "Where is Maya Richardson?" At first, a handful of people joined her. Then fewer. Then just Diane alone, week after week, month after month, year after year. In September 1981, 3 months after Maya's disappearance, something strange happened at Fairview Middle School. The east wing of the basement, a section that housed old storage rooms and rarely used lockers, was suddenly closed off. Workers came over Labor Day weekend. They sealed the entrance with drywall, painted over it, and installed new lockers in front of it. The official reason given was mold contamination. No inspection records were filed. No mold remediation company was hired. No environmental testing was done. The area was simply erased, as if it had never existed. Students who asked about it were told it was for safety. Teachers who questioned the timing were reassured it was just a coincidence, nothing to do with Maya's disappearance. But some people wondered. Some people whispered. And some people knew the truth but said nothing because speaking up meant losing their jobs, their reputations, their place in a system that rewarded silence. Principal Watkins retired in 1985 with full honors. There was a ceremony. A plaque. Speeches about his years of dedicated service. He moved to Florida, lived comfortably on his pension, and died in 1999 at the age of 73. His obituary called him a pillar of the community, a devoted educator, a man who'd shaped young minds for decades. It never mentioned Maya Richardson. The years passed. 1985 came and Maya's case was officially classified as cold. 1990 arrived and Diane appeared on a local news segment about unsolved disappearances. The segment aired once and was never mentioned again. In 1995, DNA testing became widely available. Diane provided samples, hoping they might help identify remains if any were ever found. None were. The year 2000 brought the new millennium and with it, Fairview Middle School announced plans for renovation. The building was old, outdated, no longer suitable for modern education standards. In 2005, the decision was made to tear it down completely and build a new community center in its place. Diane Richardson was 55 years old by then. She'd spent 24 years searching for her daughter. 24 years of vigils and flyers and phone calls to police who'd long since stopped returning her messages. Her hair had gone gray. Her face was lined with worry and grief. But she never stopped standing outside that school every June 5th. She never stopped believing that someone, somewhere, knew what had happened to Maya. In March 2006, the demolition of Fairview Middle School began. Construction crews moved in to strip the building, remove anything salvageable, and prepare the site for the new community center. Foreman Miguel Santos and his team worked through the building methodically, room by room, floor by floor. They reached the basement in the second week of March. When they broke through the drywall on the east wing, they found something that wasn't on the original blueprints. A whole hallway of old lockers, rusted and forgotten, sealed behind that wall for 25 years. Most of the lockers were empty. Some contained old textbooks, rotted gym clothes, forgotten lunch boxes. But one locker, number 47B, was different. The lock had been welded shut. The metal showed no signs of rust. It had been sealed deliberately, carefully, meant to stay closed forever. Miguel Santos and his crew pried it open with a crowbar. Inside, they found a denim jacket. It was faded, dusty, but still intact. On the back pocket was an embroidered sunflower. And underneath the jacket, wrapped in a plastic bag, was a purple diary with a tiny brass lock. Miguel opened the diary to the first page. In careful cursive, it read, "This diary belongs to Maya Richardson. If found, please return. Do not read." Miguel Santos immediately called the police. By that afternoon, the locker and its contents were in an evidence room. Detective Sarah Chen, a young investigator who'd grown up in Cleveland and remembered the missing posters that used to hang on every corner, was assigned to reopen the case. She'd been 7 years old when Maya disappeared. She remembered her mother warning her to be careful, to never talk to strangers, to always tell someone where she was going. Maya Richardson's disappearance had haunted an entire generation of Cleveland children. Now, 25 years later, Sarah Chen had the chance to finally find out what happened. The jacket was sent for DNA testing. The results came back within a week. It belonged to Maya Richardson. Fibers found on the jacket matched fibers from the carpet that had been in the school's basement. There were small tears in the fabric, consistent with a struggle. But it was the diary that told the real story. Sarah Chen sat in the evidence room and read every page. Maya's handwriting was neat, careful, full of the hopes and dreams and fears of a 14-year-old girl. Most entries were typical. Complaints about homework. Excitement about upcoming dances. Worries about fitting in. A crush on a boy in her science class. Dreams of becoming a writer. But the entries from May 1981 told a darker story. May 20, 1981. I can't tell Mom about this. She'll freak out. But Mr. Watkins keeps asking me to stay after school to discuss my grades. I'm getting straight A's. I don't understand what we need to discuss. Today he put his hand on my shoulder and said I was special. I hate how it makes me feel. I want to tell someone, but who would believe me? He's the principal. May 27, 1981. He did it again today. Put his hand on my shoulder and said I was mature for my age. Jennifer says I should tell someone, but I'm scared. What if they don't believe me? What if I get in trouble? But I'm not the only one. I heard Sarah Martinez talking about how he calls her to his office all the time. And Lisa from gym class said he makes her uncomfortable too. Someone has to stop him. June 3, 1981. I wrote a letter to the school board. I'm going to mail it tomorrow. Mr. Watkins can't keep doing this to girls. I'm not the only one. I'm just the first one brave enough to say something. I'm scared, but I know it's the right thing to do. June 5, 1981. The final entry, written that morning before school. I mailed the letter yesterday. If he finds out, I don't know what he'll do. But it's done. Someone has to stop him. Mom made French toast this morning. My favorite. I'm going to meet Jennifer after school and we're going to the record store. I want to buy the new Blondie album. I hope everything will be okay. The diary ended there. Sarah Chen closed it carefully, her hands trembling. Maya Richardson had tried to protect herself. She'd done everything right. She'd spoken up. She'd asked for help. And the system had failed her. Sarah began interviewing everyone she could find who'd been at Fairview Middle School in 1981. Most had moved away, started families, built new lives. But some still lived in Cleveland. And some still carried the weight of what they'd known but never said. Jennifer, Maya's best friend, was now 39 years old. She lived 2 towns over, worked as an accountant, had 3 children of her own. When Sarah showed up at her door, Jennifer broke down crying before Sarah even said why she was there. I've thought about her every day for 25 years, Jennifer said. Every single day. Maya was scared that week. She told me she'd written to the school board about Watkins. She said he'd been inappropriate with her, touching her, making comments, asking her to stay after school. She wanted it to stop. I told her to tell her mom, to tell a teacher, but she was scared no one would believe her. And then she just disappeared. I've carried that guilt my whole life. I should have told someone. I should have done something. David Chen, the boy who'd passed Maya a note in history class that day, was now a lawyer in Cleveland. He remembered Maya clearly. There was a rumor that went around about Watkins, he said. That he had a reflection room in the basement where he'd send kids who needed to think about their behavior. Girls, mostly. We all knew about it but nobody questioned it. That's just how things were back then. Adults had authority and kids didn't ask questions. The school's former janitor, now 78 years old and living in a nursing home, agreed to speak with Sarah on the condition of anonymity. I saw Watkins take Maya down to the basement that afternoon, he said, his voice shaking. She looked scared. I should have said something. But I needed my job. I had a family to feed. And Watkins, he had power. He could make problems disappear. I've lived with that shame for 25 years. I'm sorry. God forgive me, I'm so sorry. Sarah requested archived school board records from 1981. It took months of legal battles, court orders, and bureaucratic resistance, but finally, in November 2006, the records were released. Among hundreds of documents was an envelope postmarked June 4, 1981, addressed to the school board president. The envelope had been stamped "Received," but had never been opened. Sarah opened it with gloved hands. Inside was a handwritten letter on lined notebook paper. Maya's handwriting. The letter detailed months of inappropriate behavior by Principal Watkins. The touching. The comments. The private meetings. The fear. The request for help. The envelope had been received by the school board on June 5, 1981, the day Maya disappeared. It had been filed away, unopened, unread, unacted upon. Someone had received it, stamped it, and thrown it in a drawer. And Maya Richardson had vanished. Sarah called Diane Richardson. It was the hardest phone call she'd ever had to make. Diane was 66 years old now. She still lived in the same house. She still kept Maya's room exactly as it had been. She still held a vigil every June 5, though now she stood alone, the only person who still remembered. "Mrs. Richardson, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the Cleveland Police Department. We've reopened your daughter's case." Diane's voice was barely a whisper. "You found her?" "We found her jacket and diary in a sealed locker at the old school. And we found a letter she wrote to the school board. A letter asking for help. A letter that was never opened." Diane didn't say anything for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was thick with tears. "What did the letter say?" Sarah read it to her. Every word. When she finished, Diane wept. Not the quiet tears she'd cried for 25 years, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of grief so profound it had no bottom. "My baby tried to protect herself," Diane said when she could speak again. "She did everything right. She spoke up. She asked for help. And they threw her letter in a drawer and forgot about her. But I never forgot. I never stopped looking. And now everyone knows. Everyone knows what they did to her." In 2007, a special prosecutor was assigned to investigate Fairview Middle School and the handling of Maya Richardson's disappearance. The findings were released to the public in March 2008. Principal Thomas Watkins had at least 8 complaints of inappropriate behavior filed against him between 1975 and 1981. All complaints were dismissed or buried by the school board. Multiple staff members knew about the basement reflection room but said nothing. The 1981 investigation was deliberately mishandled. Evidence was destroyed or hidden. And Maya Richardson, a 14-year-old girl who'd asked for help, had been failed by every system meant to protect her. Because Watkins was dead, no criminal charges could be filed against him. But several former school board members were charged with obstruction of justice and misconduct in office. Most took plea deals. The school district issued a public apology and established the Maya Richardson Memorial Fund for victims of institutional abuse. It wasn't justice. It wasn't enough. But it was something. The question everyone wanted answered was the one that couldn't be. What happened to Maya after she was taken to that basement room? Her body was never found. Searches of the school grounds, nearby areas, and properties connected to Watkins yielded nothing. Some investigators believed her remains were disposed of in a way that made recovery impossible. Others held out hope she was still out there, waiting to be found. The truth was, they might never know. And that uncertainty was its own kind of torture. What was known was this. Maya Richardson was called to the principal's office at 2:32 on June 5, 1981. She was taken to a basement room that wasn't supposed to exist. She was held there, for how long no one knows. Her jacket and diary were hidden in a locker. The room was sealed behind a wall. And Maya Richardson was never seen again. On June 5, 2008, 27 years after Maya's disappearance, a memorial was unveiled at the site where Fairview Middle School once stood. The community center was nearly complete. In front of it, surrounded by flowers and young trees, sat a simple stone bench. A bronze plaque was mounted on its back. It read, "In memory of Maya Richardson, January 14, 1967 to June 5, 1981. A brave girl who spoke truth to power. May we honor her by protecting all children and believing those who speak out." Diane Richardson sat on that bench for the first time and wept. Not tears of closure, there would never be closure without her daughter, but tears of validation. Maya's story was finally heard. Her voice, silenced for so long, had finally broken through. Reporters asked Diane if she had closure now. She looked at them with tired eyes. "Closure," she said. "How can I have closure? I never got to bury my daughter. I never got to say goodbye. I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's at peace. But I do have something I've been fighting for all these years. The truth. Maya didn't run away. She didn't disappear. She was taken from me by someone who was supposed to protect her. And now everyone knows. That doesn't bring her back. But it means she's not forgotten. And maybe her story will save another girl. Another child who's too scared to speak up. Maybe they'll read about Maya and know that their voice matters. That someone will believe them." Diane Richardson continued her advocacy work for the next 11 years. She spoke at schools, community centers, churches, anywhere people would listen. She made sure Maya's name was never forgotten. She fought for legislation to protect children, to mandate reporting, to create systems that would prevent what happened to her daughter from happening to anyone else. In 2009, Ohio passed Maya's Law, requiring immediate investigation of any child reported missing from a school, mandatory detailed logs of all office calls and student movements, and anonymous reporting systems for abuse. Other states followed. By 2015, variations of Maya's Law existed in 37 states. Diane Richardson passed away in 2019 at the age of 68. Cancer. She'd fought it for 2 years, but in the end, it won. Her family was with her at the end. Her final words were, "Tell Maya I never stopped looking. Tell her I never gave up." She was buried next to an empty grave. The headstone read, "Maya Richardson, beloved daughter." Below it, the dates of her too short life. And below that, the words from her diary. "Someone has to stop him." Maya Richardson should be 57 years old today. She should have graduated high school in 1985, gone to college, maybe studied journalism or creative writing like she dreamed about in her diary. She should have built a career, fallen in love, maybe raised a family of her own. She should have had the chance to become whoever she wanted to be. She should have had a life. Instead, her life was cut short by a system that valued reputation over truth, silence over justice, power over protection. She was failed by the principal who abused his position. Failed by the school board that ignored her letter. Failed by the police who dismissed her mother's fears. Failed by a society that made her invisible, that didn't believe a 14-year-old black girl could be telling the truth about a respected white educator. But Maya's voice wasn't silenced forever. Through her diary, through her mother's unwavering determination, through every person who refused to forget her name, Maya Richardson's story lives on. And in living on, it demands that we do better. That we protect our children. That we believe them when they speak out. That we create systems that value their safety over adult reputations. That we never, ever seal away the truth. The diary still sits in that evidence room in Cleveland. Behind glass. Under lock and key. Its pages yellowed. Its words preserved. A testament to a girl who tried to save herself and others. A girl who was brave enough to speak truth to power, even though she knew it might cost her everything. It did cost her everything. But it also gave us something invaluable. A reminder that every child's voice matters. That silence protects predators. That speaking out protects children. Maya wrote in her diary on June 5, 1981, "Someone has to stop him." She tried. She spoke up. She asked for help. She did everything a child could do. Now it's our turn. Our turn to listen when children speak. Our turn to believe them. Our turn to protect them. Our turn to make sure that what happened to Maya Richardson never happens to another child. Rest in peace, Maya Richardson. Your voice mattered then. It matters now. And it will always matter. You are not forgotten. You never will be. Thank you for watching Maya's story. If this case affected you, I encourage you to take action. Donate to organizations that protect children and support survivors of institutional abuse. Support legislation that mandates reporting and investigation of abuse. And most importantly, if you're a teacher, a parent, a coach, anyone who works with children, listen to them. Believe them when they tell you something is wrong. Be the adult Maya needed but didn't have. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out. The National Child Abuse Hotline is available 24 hours a day at 1-800-422-4453. You can also text SAFE to 888-422-4453. Your voice matters. You matter. And there are people who will listen and help. This channel exists to tell the stories that demand to be told. Stories of people who were forgotten, dismissed, or silenced. Stories that expose systemic failures and demand accountability. If you believe these stories need to be heard, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this video. Comment below with your thoughts, where you're watching from, and what you think needs to change to protect children. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people. It helps ensure that cases like Maya's are never forgotten. Until next time, stay safe, ask questions, and never stop listening to those who need to be heard. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And thank you for making sure Maya Richardson's name lives on.